Hi everyone, welcome back to the course. In part 3, we're going to talk about the steps that you need to go through to get qualified as an educator in China. One of the things I'm also going to do in this course is I'm going to give you a few of my teaching videos, so you can see what it's like to teach here in the classroom in China. And we're also going to interview and sit down with a member of staff, one of the members on my team, and we're going to talk a little bit, have a discussion about what it means to be a successful educator in China, some of the expectations, and some of these expectations that may differ with your cultural interpretation or understanding of teaching. Basically, we're going to look at the teaching context in China and what are some of those cultural parameters that you should be aware of before you come over. And hopefully this will support you in not only becoming a qualified teacher, but becoming a professional teacher as well. And just understand this word professional, again, it's a highly loaded word. What constitutes professional teaching in one culture might not necessarily constitute professional teaching in another culture. The key thing though, before we get started, you have to understand that there's a transition in China in terms of what is professional teaching as people start to become, more and more middle class, upper middle class, as people start to demand more of education in terms of helping students develop some of those softer skills, like using technology, problem solving, and innovation, as opposed to what was considered to be professional teaching traditionally in the classroom, which would have been teacher-centered education, or getting students to memorize through rote repetition and drilling. So there are both of these different paradigms. The traditional route, the traditional rote learning and teaching is very common. Let's back up a little bit here so you can see. Is very common here in China. But then on the other hand, you have a growing demand for soft skills for teaching students 21st century skills in the classroom. And by 21st century skills, if you're new to education and you're not sure what 21st century skills are, 21st century skills are basically skills that students will need to basically find a job and be successful on a job after they graduate. You see, one of the problems that parents are finding these days is that their children, they go through a program, a course of learning, they've learned for like 12 years, they've studied hard to get high scores. In China, this is a very Confucian-based society where, getting top scores is the key, where parents emphasize that to students, and students go off and they learn, they take and they pass all these courses and they get these high scores, and then they graduate from university and then they are unable to find a job. They're unable to communicate, with potential employers about those skills that they have, that they've learned. They're unable to utilize those skills in an effective way. And oftentimes, if you have students who've been in this sort of in a test driven system, when they get in the workplace, they are unable to interact with colleagues because a lot of the times they're still in this competitive mind state, where in the real world, oftentimes, especially when you're working on a team with people, you need to collaborate, and you also need to bring those, you need to be able to communicate ideas, you need to be able to work together. And so that's something that 21st century skills, teaching 21st century skills attempts to alleviate by helping students to develop those skills that are going to help them be successful. Now, if you do get your teaching credential, you'll learn about how to teach 21st century skills. Most modern teaching programs these days do have courses on 21st century skills or something along that nature. Another transition that we're seeing, and it's not only in China, across the world, is more in terms of differentiated teaching. And by differentiated teaching, we mean teaching and taking into account that the students in your class are not uniform. There's no one size fits all in terms of a lesson plan and how you deliver that lesson plan. On the contrary, you have to consider your students' differing needs, differing abilities. Students, for example, are good. Some students may be good at mathematics. Some students may be spatially aware. Some students may be good at linguistically speaking. Some students may be good kinesthetically. All right, and the good teacher is the teacher who identifies the student's strengths and weaknesses and then plans accordingly so that all the students in the classroom are being challenged. All students in the classroom are learning and making progress, no matter whether they are at the very top of the class in terms of their ability based on the class that you're teaching, or they're at the very bottom, or students who need support. Oftentimes when we speak of students, actually, we don't often say at the top or at the bottom. We may say, for example, for the students who are doing very well in the class, who need a bit of a challenge, we say those students need to be extended in their learning, and students who are not doing so well, we say those students need support. Again, we try to be positive in terms of how we reflect on these students' performance in the class, and positive in terms of how we go about solving each individual student's problem or helping each student to make progress in the class. So these are some things to think about. Getting qualified is the most exciting thing that you can do. If what I just said or what I've been talking about has just flown over your head, or you're like, what is he talking about, or why is he so passionate about what he's talking about? It's because as I'm speaking now, I'm just recalling my own experience getting my teaching credential, which I did actually. I got my teaching credential when I was in China, and I was already enrolled. I was at an international school, but I was teaching in the local stream because I hadn't got my teaching credential, but I wanted to move over to the international stream. So there was 1 year where I went on to Teach Now. I think now Teach Now is called Moreland University, and I did an online teaching credential. Basically, what I would have to do is I would make videos of me teaching. I would submit those videos to Teach Now to review and critique, and I would meet with my teaching advisor every so often, and we would have a discussion about various topics. And all the while I was taking courses at Teach Now related to different aspects of teaching. For example, differentiated learning, using technology in the classroom, managing the classroom management skills, and so on. These skills were very important because they opened my eyes to, not only teaching and focusing on lesson plans, but how to control, how to manage a classroom, how to give feedback to parents, how to give feedback to students in a positive and productive way. These are things that I learned through the program, so I was grateful for it. At the end of the program, I submitted all of the completion work and documentation to the Department of Education in Washington, D.C., and then I got my teaching certification. That teaching certification then allowed me to get another teaching position at a very prestigious school. And since then, I've only been working in the international stream. And of course, the benefit of working in the international stream in China is that you get all of the holidays, you get the local holidays, plus you get some of the traditional Western holidays. For example, oftentimes you may get Christmas, for example, in addition to the local holidays. And also, one of the good things about the international stream that I'm finding from a personal standpoint in my current position is that there are lots of professional development days, which has helped me to improve my practice even more. And of course, there's the community in the international school. The teachers, generally speaking, tend to be very motivated, very driven. So you find yourself in an environment of people who are hardworking, who are constantly improving their practice, and it's good to get ideas from them as well. And of course, last but not least, the pay in the international stream is very good. So, and that also oftentimes includes a round-way trip ticket, expenses, housing, and so in my current situation, they serve all-you-can-eat breakfast and lunch. So pretty much, I don't really spend much money, and housing is covered as well. I don't spend much money other than for things that I'm interested in. So for example, I just bought a brand new Mercedes-Benz here, and I haven't really used the income the income from the international school for daily living expenses, because most of my daily expenses are covered, except for some other essentials that I can't do without. Otherwise, I'm not really spending too much money. Housing is covered, and food, I have enough to eat every day. So getting into international stream can be very lucrative, and also can be very rewarding in terms of the experience that you get teaching an international stream. But you're not going to get into the international stream easily if you don't have a teaching credential. So teaching credentials are very good. I did mine through the US. I know others who've done the UK version of the teaching credential, the PGCSE, which is the UK equivalent of the American standard teaching credential. And by the way, I should just say here that my teaching credential qualifies me to teach students from kindergarten, pre-K, all the way up to grade 12, and also to teach any subject. And there's an additional thing that I can teach. I can also teach English as an academic or as a second language. So that means that in international schools, I fulfill a variety of different teaching roles and positions. For example, I've taught math, I've taught English, I've taught history, I've taught a lot of different subjects. And this is one of the things that has helped me to do that, getting the teaching credential. So we'll include some links here that I think will help you get started. And the first thing I would like for you to do after watching this video, go look at those links and register if you can, or try to sign up and get familiar with the teaching requirements for the teaching credential. And so that'll be the next thing. And then we'll have another video after this where I'll invite one of my colleagues to talk about expectations on a personal level that teachers should have, especially when teaching in this environment where it's oftentimes a culture. The expectations are quite different from the cultural expectations in the classroom at home. So we'll have that conversation. And also, finally, here I'll also include a video of me teaching in the classroom, and a place for you to reflect on that video and what you expect, your expectations when you come here to teach in this China context. All right, everyone, that's all that I have to say for now. I'll catch you in the next one. See you.